Hi, everybody. Welcome to Tea Time with Amy and Bev. Happy Mama's Day.
Happy Mama's Day and good day.
Good day. Of course, we're recording this on Mother's Day, so that's why I say that. This isn't going to go out until the Thursday after, which is okay. But maybe you might listen to this on Mother's Day, so there you have it in the
There
future,
you have it.
in
And
2050
every
or
day
something.
is every day is Mother's Day. It's Father's Day too, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah,
We just seem to identify it as a day.
yeah.
So how are things?
Things are good. I thought maybe, um, if you're up for it, being a mom. Should we talk about that?
We can.
It's interesting dynamics, isn't it?
It is. It's like putting on a different hat altogether, and it changes, it kind of shifts everything. A mom's hat versus a grandma's hat, or, you know, a sister's hat. It's all these different hats that we wear and how we show up differently with those different hats on. It's kind of actually interesting now that we're talking about this.
And when you put a mom hat on, when you decide to take on that role, you take on a bunch of other roles too that you didn't know come along with that, right? So a caregiver, a nurse, a teacher, like you would think I, you know, the the blanket is I'm a mom. But underneath that is similar to being a wife. You take on the role of a wife, or in a relationship, there's other hats that come along with it. And I think maybe that's when people, maybe younger moms, or just choosing to be a mom, thinking about being a mom, that might become the big difficult part is, oh my gosh, there's so much more to this than I ever realized. Because you look at your own mom, whatever fashion she showed up in. I know your mom showed up differently than my mom, and they were our role models because they were our mom.
It's
And
true.
them doing the best that they could with their skills and how they were raised and their belief systems and all that. So that's what they had to demonstrate for us. Um, when in fact there was so much more that we didn't see that was going on behind the scenes. Maybe their internal mental emotional struggles, maybe they're trying to wrap their brains around even just taking on this new role of a baby that they have to take care of, and how are they going to do it, and them wanting to feel loved. And so also maybe I know my mom was in that position of seeking relationships and seeking that love outside of herself. So there's so many more things happening behind the scenes that, and when she would get in the relationships weren't that great. And her mental and emotional struggle through that. And even though it's not talked about, the child can pick up on that energy, and they know something's off, but they just don't know the details because now the mom's trying to protect the child from seeing or experiencing certain things. And so there's this whole incredible dynamic of being an infant or a child, and your mom trying to do her best in raising you in whatever that looks like. I know that, there's been some amazing experiences and not so good. So, and just keeping that in mind that every person's doing the best they can. Uh, but moms have, that's that's a huge load.
It is a huge load, and we could take that load off of our shoulders by just recognizing we're guides. We are a guide in all capacities. We're a guide for ourselves, we're a guide for our partner, I mean, really, in a generic statement, we're guides for everybody because they already have their higher self. They already have their team of spiritual guides, however you want to look at it. They've already got everything that's around them. And they're going to live their lives the way they want to, no matter, especially for the kids, no matter if we have our thumb on them or not. You can think that you've got them pinned down and you've got this figured out and everything is this way. And it's never that way because they've got their own journeys. And if we can recognize that, it takes a lot of stress and pressure off our shoulders of thinking that we have to do all those things. And also, you know, bringing them in to help facilitate whatever we're doing. If it's working in the yard, if it's doing a podcast or whatever, it's like help me set up the camera or help me set up this. It's including in all things because that gives them the experience and the opportunity to decide, is this what I want to do? This is kind of fun, but also not feeling left out, which I also know is an inside job, and it's not our job to make sure everybody feels like they're wanted and they got their trophy. And it's not all about that stuff because again, all the experiences that we have, each of us on an individual basis, are what help to guide us and to be the best guide we possibly can be for whoever's around us.
Well, I know earlier in my day, when I had my son, that I wasn't the best role model by no means. I was an emotional mental wreck. I too seeking love outside of myself, dealing with all my pains and not knowing what to do with that, turning to alcohol to remedy that so I could forget about my reality and relax and have fun. So that's what the alcohol did for me. And so turning to a substance to be able to cope with life, none of that was a good being a good role model if you put um, stipulations on what a role model looks like. So by my standards, in one way, was not a good role model, was not teaching how to live life and how to embrace life and how to, love yourself. None of that. That was not even in my wheelhouse at the time. And at the same time, I was a role model of this isn't healthy. So when you think about what your life experiences were like when you were, taking on that role of being a mom, that, yeah, on one hand, it wasn't the best. And on the other hand, I was the best teacher I could be. Right. And then
Yeah.
it's up to that individual as the child. They're going to take on whatever it is I'm teaching. So my son taking on whatever it is I'm teaching in that time by how I'm behaving and how I'm reacting to things and how I'm showing up in life. And then he gets to decide as he gets older, what is he going to do with that information? That's not my responsibility.
Mm-mm.
So it's just, I think ultimately in this conversation, what I like to do is bring some ease to the moms who maybe having some difficulty in their relationships and stuff, but and bringing in those spiritual aspects of, we are all each here for a journey for our spirit, and this is a vehicle that they're operating through to have a human experience for growth and expansion on a spiritual level, and so is our kids and our grandkids and our spouses and our brothers and sisters, right? It's like all of us are here for a reason that we none of us absolutely probably could comprehend what that is.
And it's not our responsibility. And it's a choice. It's just like everything you just said before that when you talk about how we raise our kids, because I don't feel like I was always the best role model. And that's only because I've acquired information since then that can tell me that I could have been a different role model than the way that I was then. But they chose us. And so with all that experience they gained from us, they can either expand or they can contract. It's a choice. It's all a choice. And so it's not anything we've done wrong. And so for me, because I used to do it all the time, I used to beat myself up and think, man, I should have done this differently. I could have been a better mom. Sure, I could have been a better mom with the knowledge and information that I have today, but I
Right.
didn't have any of that knowledge and information that I did at that time. And so it's just a constantly, like you always say, showing up and doing and being better always. And that's in all ways that you show up, not just as your mom or as the mom, or as the daughter or any of those things. You're doing it in all ways. And it's giving ourselves some leniency and not putting so much pressure on ourselves to be so perfect. Perfect according to what? And so then you have to kind of ask yourself some questions that kind of just lead you into that space of perfect according to whom? Because you're perfect already the way you are, unless you've judged yourself against somebody else or you've been judged growing up, and that was the perspective. Doesn't mean that it's true. And so it's nice, and it's, for me, it's been freeing to be able to let that stuff go and know that it wasn't my responsibility. And even still, I've pulled back even more. I can only do what I can do. I was, trying to kill myself in so many ways by trying to be everything for everybody. And it just doesn't work that way. Because at the end of the day, it was me that needed that attention. Just like it's the kids that need their own attention as well. They need to learn how to do that. And they learn that by the way that we treat ourselves. Because, like you said earlier, it's not something that we say or do or expect. It is the do part. It is how we show up on a daily basis. It's not feeling like you um pretending like your mommy's having a great day when mommy's not having a good day. Sometimes we just don't have good days, and it's all right to let them know that. And then it's ways, how do I find ways to love and nurture myself and find myself back into that balance where I don't feel bad, because as you're doing those things, you're teaching your children how to do the same thing without even trying to teach them anything. It's just teaching them to be more in a space of peace.
And if you think about nature out in the wild with animals and such, that the animal is born and right away it's taught how to hunt, how to be cautious, how to be aware. It's taught these not obviously animals not talking, but they have their own way of communication. And then it's like mom's like, okay, I did my part. Off you go. It's like you need to go on with your life. Um, a bird. I was actually quite shocked when I heard this for the first time. It's been years ago, but a mama bird, she just takes off flying, and the baby birds are expected to do the same. And you either fly or you fall. And I've heard that there's I don't know the species, but or maybe all of them, I don't know, but the mama bird will actually nudge them out of the nest to get them to fly. And it's like, okay, you know how to fly now. Now you need to go, build your own nest and get your own food and do your own thing. And and we as humans don't always do that, do we? We're just like, oh, you need to stay with me. Oh, we need to stay tethered. I need to take care of your problems. I need to be responsible for you for the rest of your life. Like because we're human and we have these emotions and these thoughts and all these things that um we take on additional role or responsibilities that sometimes isn't okay. So as I say this, I have to kind of retract, because when we bring in the spirit aspects, to me, like you said, choosing the parents that are choosing how we get here, um, is those people that we're choosing to come through are going to put us in the exact um, situations or experiences that we need for our expansion and growth as a spirit being. Um, and so it again, like, go back to what I said. We don't know what that spirit journey is. And when there is a difficult relationship between a mom and a child, that um, I'm going to say you signed up for it, because your spirit has some learning to do. Your spirit has experiences that they want to have for their expansion when they return back into that all loving energy. And you don't know what that is. And so you're still, even though it's a rocky, difficult situation, difficult relationship, your spirit has some growth and expansion that is happening that you are like, we're all completely unaware of what's happening on that level. And as you said, it's all perfect. Doesn't matter how good you are being by whoever standards that is, or how bad you are, again, depending on whose standards that is, that maybe it's all perfect. Maybe it's all playing out the way it's supposed to, you know?
It is. You're saying all this stuff, and I'm just like sitting here thinking, like, we freaking were perfect. We're in that moment, we were perfect. And how much to carry that weight on your shoulders of thinking that there's always something you could have done better, that so undermines self. Because that means at that moment, in that perfection, we were trying to find something wrong with things when it was exactly the way it was supposed to be. There was not any, it wasn't supposed to be any other way. It just wasn't.
And I can, there's so many scenarios, not only just my experiences, but being a witness to the relationships of a mother and a daughter. There's a relationship where the mom, you know, a family, the dad dies, and the mom, she has to navigate life with three kids and raise them and have a career and do all the things. And then the daughter, the one daughter of the family, turns into a drug addict. And that relationship's been super difficult for several years. And it's like, well, what if that's actually all perfect for her and for the mom for their spiritual growth? Maybe if bring in past life experiences, that maybe roles were reversed in the previous life or another lifetime, and their sole agreement was, okay, let's flop roles so we can each have that experience, one being the drug addict, and whether they overcome that addiction or not, or change the dynamics of their own life, or the mom is able to heal that turmoil or doesn't. Like, what is it on a spirit level that they're getting, not just on a human level? And the human level is where we have our suffering. We decide to suffer through that pain. And I am, please, with the audience watching, please don't think that I'm minimizing anybody's pain. I mean, even, the loss of a child, a murdered child, a raped child, like any of those is not, I'm not demeaning any of that pain that we feel, but what if it's in alignment with our spirit? How do we know pain unless we experience it? How would our spirit know pain unless it experienced it through the human body? How would it know love? How would it know freedom? How would it know excitement or joy unless it's experienced through the human body? And through the human body, we get both, right? We get both ends. We don't know what joy is until we know what loss or pain or suffering is. We don't know what love is unless possibly we know what abuse is.
Makes perfect sense. To me, it does. It makes perfect sense for the experiences, and it's also not just to cling on to those experiences, those stories, because otherwise we're using it as a defining for all the experiences we're going to have coming after that. And so to me, it's an opportunity for us to see things from a different perspective. So we're not carrying that along with us and reliving it over and over and over again. Doesn't mean it didn't happen. It just means that we're so much bigger than that one experience. And so many times we can live in that experience over and over and over and over again. And being victimizing ourselves in a lot of ways by maintaining or keeping ourselves in that space. And so again, it's just all this stuff is an opportunity to you experience the pain part. Well, what is the opposite feel of that? And that's what we get to do in this human experience. We get to feel, like you just said, we get to feel the sadness in order to recognize when we're super happy. It helps us to navigate. Those feelings help us to let us know which direction we're going in. And when it comes to sadness and grieving and all that stuff, it's allowing the self to do that stuff. It's not, as children, a lot of us learn to kind of stuff that aside, or rub some dirt on that and go play. Just ignore your feelings and go carry on. But we're in a space now that as adults are learning to feel those feelings so that we're not stifling it or sticking it down into a box in the basement of our bodies for later on for it to come out. It's just I'm kind of glad, kind of going a little bit a different direction. I'm kind of glad that of all the experience that I've had. I'm even happy about the stuffing that I did because now I've gotten to at a stage where what we were talking about a little while ago, that I have a comprehension or an understanding and I can see things from a different perspective. So now I see it differently and I don't feel like it doesn't need to stay in the box anymore. So it's like I along the way have acquired tools that are like, oh, yeah, now that kind of makes a little bit of sense why I went through that really dark time. It's it's all opportunities. It doesn't feel like opportunities when we're going through the experiences for sure, but it's always finding the silver lining in everything because I feel like there's some, and sometimes the silver lining is how did you show up, or how did it affect your life that you changed so much to become the person that you are today. Those are the kind of silver linings. I'm not always saying there's a silver lining like you were saying in the death, but to me the silver lining in a death is knowing that I still have access to that person, that soul. I can still communicate with them. All they did was leave their avatar. And it was an opportunity when that person left for me to go with inside to even navigate to know that that person was still there this whole time.
And they're always there when
Always.
we pay attention.
It's true.
It's so fun. And it's when I see those posts of I miss my mom because our mom has transitioned. I'm think, man, just sit and connect with your heart center and just bring her energy in and she's there like right now. There's no waiting. It's like immediate. She's there. I had a somebody I know who just recently had an experience is similar, but its most recent experience that I could share as an example is um a person went into a building and they're like, so, when you're it's a pretty big building and when you're in there it's a little creepy and the you know there's noises and stuff and she's just like she came back and was telling me the story. She says, I was just over there and I was like, okay, if there's any ghosts in here, I want it to be my friend. I'm just gonna say Ben. I want it to be my friend Ben. And so she got done in the building and she walked outside and a motorcycle drove by playing a song that reminded her of her friend Ben. And it was the not the lyrics but the music that she had written a poem for to read at his funeral services. And when she came in was telling, she was just I'm like, oh my gosh, he heard you. He was letting you know he's with you. He's letting you know you heard him, or he heard you and all these things. And she was just like, oh my God, I just can't, and just kind of beside herself. And I was so elated about it. I'm like, that's so exciting, trying to keep the energy up. But it's like that, and she's like, you call on these people, on those that have transitioned, your mom, your grandma, whoever was that mother figure, anybody really, but we're on the topic of moms. So, and you just bring their energy in and then watch and witness what happens. Oh, for me, it's hummingbirds and dragonflies. For my grandmother, she was a mother figure for me. She raised me, and so you just pay attention. The songs, something, some words somebody says would be exactly what that mother figure would say. So it's like, don't discount that they're not here in physical form because they're absolutely with you in spirit form.
100%. I'm so glad you said that. Happy Mother's Day, Mom. My mom's in the spirit. Happy Mother's Day. And what I was recognizing too, the grief is great because it's a releasing of so many different things all the way back to childhood. To me, it's just a path of least resistance. You can just let it all flow out. But on the other side of that grief is that connection. You have that recognition of that connection. And grieving helps you purge and release a lot of these things that may have made your rose-colored glasses a little bit muddied. So it's a way of clearing things up so that you can see that they're always here with us and we can feel them and like you said, picking up and having songs that show up or seeing numbers that you rec. My mom was born on 1010. So it's like 1010 is a very big thing. And if I hear a reading or if I see it on a license plate or whatever, it's like I always know. Besides that, she's always showing up in things, even when I don't ask her to.
Yeah, right.
But she's always, but that's like a mom sometimes. I mean, but on the other side of that, that would be me recognizing it. That's how mom was in some ways. So, you know, it's a wonderful thing. It's a wonderful thing to have all these experiences. And then with all the emotions that we've gotten to feel because of all the experiences we've had, now we can express or feel the things that the person's feeling on the other side. Maybe they were sad for the way they left things, and you could feel that sadness within inside of yourself. And then but you don't have to hold on to it. Or then now they're happy for you because, oh my gosh, they can see things so clearly now. And look at how great you're doing. And now you get to feel that energy. So we're so lucky we get to be in these physical bodies to feel all these emotions. So then, because it's a language, that's what this body has been. It's learning a different language. And so then we're learning languages of all the people that are around us. We're learning the language of our children. We're learning the language of our mothers. We're learning the languages of everybody that's around us. And it's an awesome thing. And we've got all these amazing tools and those feels that we have that are so beneficial in us navigating things and being able to feel so much more love for an individual, loving them so much, but feeling that, not it just being words. And a lot of times I think people grew up with just the words because that's, there was not the emotion, the connection of the emotion behind those words coming out. So now we're learning that. So when you look at your kids and you say, I love you really freaking love them. Like you're really feeling it. You're looking at them eye to eye. I love you, not just at the back of their head as they're walking away. It's all the time. It's giving them a hug and looking them face to face and telling them how much you love them. That means more than anything in the world. Those are the things that they're going to remember. That face that you see is what you're going to remember always, whether it was your mom or your kids.
It's uh it's a blessing when you think about the dynamics of relationships in general, but that relationship between a mom and a child because of that physical connection that they've had for 9 months or so, or in that area. Some babies are born sooner than that, but um and that there's I feel like there's more of a spirit connection between a mom and a child, that because the mother's intuition, so mom's intuition is way stronger than because of that physical connection. And it's different, not to put down dads, but it's a different experience for a father figure with a child than a mom's connection, not necessarily relationship, but connection to the child. Even if that child was adopted, or even if that child was artificially inseminated, like there's still connection that is stronger in a way that a lot of people don't understand. I will funny, not funny, because it was supposed to be a surprise for me, but it was 2 years ago, I believe. Um, it was like I don't know, the Wednesday or Thursday before Mother's Day. And my son didn't live here in the area that I live in. He lived 3.5 hours away. And I said to my husband, I'm like, I feel like Matt's gonna be here this weekend by Mother's Day. And sure enough, he showed up at the doorstep Sunday morning, knocking on the door. And so it's just, you just have this sense. My grandmother, this is my my grandparents would get they rode motorcycle um quite often, and they would go on these motorcycle trips, and they would be gone. And my grandmother, one time, was a major incident happened with my uncle. My grandmother said, I think believe they were in California or something. My grandmother looked at my grandfather and said, "We need to pack up and leave now." Now, this is the time before cell phones or anything else. Like, she just knew we need to go home now. And there was this major incident that happened. Like, how do you know that? How do you just know these things are happening with your children? And so she's very intuitive that way.
And the best way to be intuitive is to be quiet and listen
Yeah.
because you feel all these things. And we don't have to always say them because that's something I've been practicing. I don't have to say, oh, hey, Freeman, I just picked this up or whatever, this is happening. I just keep it and I listen to what I heard. And then I see sometimes it comes up, sometimes it doesn't, but I just see what kind of comes up from it. And it's that's my way of playing or my way of knowing that I'm intuitively picking up things or how easy it really is the quieter that we've gotten, which is pretty amazing. And it can be super loud too. Our
Yeah.
intuition can be super loud. Can be. It's not always. Usually it's that still small voice they say, but it's that's not always the truth. Or it's nagging because it'll say it over and over again, not with an energetic nag, but with a um, don't forget to get your keys. Go get your keys. Go get your keys. Whatever. Something simple as that before you leave, and then I'll leave, and I'm like, damn it! I was told like 3 times. I was told like 10 times. But it's because we get busy with other things or what we think that we should be doing or whatever. It's like in that moment, and that's the practice. Really, it's in every single moment is to listen to the little nudges, and then follow through, and then see what happens after that, which has been a lot of stuff that I've been playing with lately. It's just really following. That's our passion. But we'll talk about that in the next episode.
Make a note. So remember. Um,
We
oh man, I was gonna say something. Now I lost it. It's okay. Um, so mom being a mom, we'll just wrap this up that being a mom is a huge job, if you will, job responsibility. I was going to talk about survival. So in our early days, I know Bev and I both were in survival mode when we had our child, and when you're in survival mode, you don't you don't really have or haven't learned. I didn't know I didn't learn till later in life to be quiet, as you said. Like when you're sitting in some silence or allowing some silence, that's when your that intuition is a lot stronger. But when I was young, mom, um, like I said, I was emotional and mental wreck that I had no space to be quiet. There in my head, in my body, in my life, there was no space to be quiet. And so, yeah, the person I am today is definitely nowhere near the person I was when I gave birth. And now, and Bev's practicing this now, that if or when there are any grandchildren in my experience, my interaction with them 1,000 times different than what it was when with my son.
100%.
Like not even 50% or 100%, like 1,000% different because
It
that
just is.
person is way different in me.
Exactly. We can't go back. Once we've learned all this information and knowledge and we've gotten to the point where we're at right now, there is no going back. It's only going forward. That's it. And it's an awesome journey because we made it through that part of it already. And who knows what we're going to look at in the future, but it's like in this moment, it's like I realize all the things, all the reasons that we had all those experiences because we do show up and it is an opportunity for our kids to see a different side of us, not to be like, well, this is bullshit. My mom didn't raise me this way. It's to look at it and know that I have different tools than I had then. So you can use the same tools that you're using right now, or you can start implementing some different tools, or you can take the tools that I'm using right now and modify them to fit and make it feel better for yourself. It's just
Yeah.
an opportunity.
Yep. And the other thing I was going to say earlier when I had mentioned the difficulties, the really hard experiences between a mom and a child, that um how many communities of people have come together because of some kind of a hardship, whether it was drug addiction or murder or missing or whatever the case may be. How, like, the amount of people that come together because of that. And those relationships were formed and bonds were made because of a hard experience. And the beauty of that, like, if that child hadn't, let's say, exited, meaning transitioned, died, that you would have never met these groups of people, or you may not have created that group of people to come together for healing. And so, what if the dynamics is, or was, that agreement between you and your spirit and their spirit, your child's spirit, that you come in as the mom, they come in as the child, this experience is going to happen. But the beauty of what's going to happen is you start a group that's going to create healing and comfort and compassion for a huge group of people, right? So keeping in mind that something traumatic turned into something so incredibly beautiful for so many people. And maybe that's what your spirit's journey was all about to begin with. But something had to trigger that, flip that switch for you to go on that journey to help all these people, thousands. And there's groups that, like, millions of people are a part of that for their healing purposes of whatever experience they had. So anyway, there's so much beauty in what we see as maybe heavy or traumatic. And remember that. And remember that if you are going through something where you feel like you're alone and nobody understands and you need support, that there are the Moms Against Drunk Driving. There's was it Parents Helping Parents
I think it's helping parents
Heal?
heal
Helping Parents
dot org
Heal.
or something like that. So I would look into that for sure, because again, that's one of those huge
Yeah,
organizations that have came
huge.
up.
Yeah,
And really listen to the what people would call woo woo and everything else, but it's contact, it's information, it's it opened another door for them because of the experiences that they had. And
yeah,
it's like they didn't look at it as that was the end right there, that was the end of life and everything. Because anybody that's left us in this plane, they've left their physical experience, doesn't want us to be unhappy. Just like if we were to pass today, we don't want our families to be devastated and unhappy that we're not here. We want to be celebrated, celebrate us.
right.
And so we celebrate them.
Yeah. Celebrate them. Celebrate that you had the time you had with them for sure. Um, and for the moms that are in it right now with a relationship with their child that may be uncomfortable, do the best you can. Love yourself through it first and foremost. Love yourself through it and allow that healing and nurturing for yourself for whatever that situation may be.
Yeah. Lean on spirit, go within, because that's huge, because there's so many things that we feel like we don't have control over. Especially one of the experiences I know of is having experience with my brother was addicted to drugs and stuff. But I'll tell you, his energy was so freaking powerful. So I would say that, to kind of tie this all up, his experiences were for everybody else's growth that was around him as well, maybe even more so than just for his own growth. Because I feel like he was such a strong power already. And so it was for everybody else's growth to kind of let go and allow him to have that experience. It was his life. It wasn't up to us. Just because someone doesn't live the way we live or think that they should live doesn't mean that they're doing it wrong.
Yeah. All right, friends. Um, every day is a Mother's Day. I agree with Bev. Like it never goes away. Even when your child has grown and into adulthood and have their own life, it's still a part of your daily existence. And we just do the best we can, but also remember to celebrate you, celebrate your accomplishments, celebrate how far you've come, celebrate your healing, celebrate where you are if you're in the middle of the muck and guck. Um, it's okay. And you have a lot of spirit support and there's lots of physical support out there for connection with the other humans. So be sure to reach out if you're struggling. But ultimately, we're here, I feel, to learn to love ourselves. And our children will definitely give us the opportunity to uh, learn how to do that if that's the path we choose.
Yes.
So you can find us on many platforms. We're on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Spreaker, Spotify, Podcast Addict, and YouTube. And you can share this information, be resourceful, whether it's this video or any other video or recordings that we've done. Bev and I have been doing this since 2019, 2020,
I
2020,
2020.
right before, right about time everything shut down. So 6 years. We're in our 6 year mark. So we put out a video every week and on all kinds of different topics. So if you have a question or want us to cover a certain topic or have a certain kind of conversation, then leave us the information in the comments box and we'll come back to it. And be resourceful. Share whatever information that you're receiving that's beneficial for you, that's helping you, and because other people out there are also seeking information that's going to help them. So with that, thanks for hanging out with us. Tea time with Amy and Bev, and we will see you next time.
Bye.